Welcome back. I'm Hannah Levbarg and this is Liberty Gourmand, and this is our first episode in our new house and our new kitchen, and I am so excited. And today I am making something I made up last week and it was so incredible. I'm starving and it's the weekend and we need a big brunch. Dying to make it again, and I thought I'm gonna take the time to set up and make a first episode in the new house for you guys. So what I'm making today is vegan migas, and migas are a Mexican, Tex-Mex kind of popular breakfast and brunch item. That's a scramble with eggs. Obviously I'm not gonna be using eggs. And it has tortilla chips in it, and also fresh peppers, onions, and tomatoes. I'm gonna make it cheesy and it's gonna be amazing. And I am making it, I'm keeping it oil-free or close to oil-free for people who do that. So I have an air fryer and I'm gonna be starting with that, making some baked tortilla chips using a good quality. These are white corn from a local tortilleria, corn tortillas. And I'm also gonna serve it with some packaged Gimme Lean, because it's the weekend. Now, if you're salt-free and are avoiding processed food, you're probably gonna avoid this, but it's fat-free and it's delicious. It tastes like breakfast sausage, and yes, I usually am eating like oatmeal and stuff most mornings, but in the weekends, like I want a brunch. And then I'm also gonna serve some black beans just from a can. I don't have any made up. Maybe zhuzh these up a little, maybe add a little chipotle powder and sauteed garlic or something, or I might just heat them up. But the main thing is for you to see the migas recipe, and I'll also show you how the Gimme Lean cooks up. I would really encourage you, if you're going plant-based or leaning that way, trying to get more meat out of your diet and stuff, you're benefiting a lot from eliminating the things in animal protein and fat and hormones that by cutting out meat. So if you do replace some things with a processed food, like this is not like Beyond Beef, like Beyond Meat burger patties are full of saturated fat, or they have a fair bit so that they can approximate the actual experience of a hamburger patty. And this has all of the seasonings of breakfast sausage, and it has a really good texture, but they're not trying to like remake meat in a lab. So it is fat-free, it does have fiber, it's quite salty, but yeah, like if you were otherwise gonna go indulge in something, and you like go plant-based and indulge in this once in a while, and it's gonna be like way better for you. You're not gonna feel it unless if you're really salt sensitive, then you need to like figure out your own workaround, but you're probably not eating sausage as it is if you're really salt sensitive. So that said, I'm going to change the camera and we will make a start with making our air fried tortilla chips.
You're
A little tricky in the air fryer. I did use one at a time with a friend. You really have to watch them kind of on the hot and even in batches, but they do work. I am going to do these in phases so that they have enough room to kind of get air around them. I think I'll only need 2 batches. Yeah, that ought to work. And they sort of blow around in the air fryer. I mean, an air fryer is really a tiny convection oven. It gets hotter than like if you bake in a convection oven in your oven, but that's effectively what it is. It's gonna turn on. I'm gonna set temperature really low. That will be more like 325 probably. And then I'm going to set the timer for 6 minutes, hit start. What I'm trying to avoid here is burning them at all. I set it for 6 minutes in the first instance because this one anyway needs to be preheated, and they say to preheat it for more than 3 minutes. So I figured this gives it about 3 minutes at full heat. And if I start to smell them, I'm gonna stop it. Now, if you wanted to season these up a little, I would suggest putting a little sprinkle of cumin over them. You could also add a little bit of like lime zest or even a tiny bit of lime juice. I mean, obviously it'd make them wet, but like you could toss them in a little lime juice and add some cumin, and that would be totally oil-free seasoning that you could do in this. If you don't care about the oil, you could toss them in a tiny bit of oil or spray them and put cumin, maybe some coriander. Those are just some ideas. I have finished the first round of cooking. That was 6 minutes from cold at 290, and I think that we are looking pretty good. These need a little more time. I think going lower in temp was a good idea. See, this one's actually perfect. So I'm gonna do it maybe at like 300 for 2 more minutes and see where that gets us. Okay folks, the chips were perfect with like 3-4 more minutes at 300. And I'm gonna do another batch of those in a second. And I just wanna show you the other ingredients for the migas. Some tomatoes, probably gonna be about a third of this bell pepper. I'm gonna use both of these jalapenos because I really like hot chilies in mine, but traditionally you could just have bell pepper, onion, and tomato. And then I will show you the scramble next. Cooking and prep is in progress, but I wanted to show you, hello, these chips and how they came out. And it's funny because you can hear them pop around in there. And if I hadn't thought I might be making more than I needed, I would have cut them into little bitty strips, which is a nice way of doing migas. But as it is, I'm gonna need to crunch them up with my hands a little bit to make them a little smaller. Get my tomatoes done, and I will be right back with the scramble. This is something I've experimented with that I took inspiration from Bosch TV. If you don't watch it, you definitely should. Two very young English boys who are great, and they do very culinary cooking and not as much health focused. So I'm not going to use like 2 tablespoons of butter in this recipe because it's not how I cook anyway, but I took their basic idea for a tofu scramble and have been working with it, and I really like what I've been coming out with. Let me introduce you to the ingredients here. I've got this organic extra firm tofu, and I'm going to use about half of this. I'm going to store the rest of it in an airtight container with fresh water. I'll change every day. You need to know to do that if you're new to using tofu. That's how you keep it fresh, because we know everybody loves home ec. And that way it'll keep for a long time. Now, if you forget a day, it might be okay. That happens. But if it starts to get slimy, then you've waited too long and you have to throw it out. But if you are vegan or vegetarian and really start cooking and you're not allergic to soy, and you know that you shouldn't be afraid of it because it prevents cancer, or it doesn't cause it, then you should be cooking with a lot of tofu. This is shelf-stable silken tofu. I used to hate silken tofu because the texture is slimy. It's kind of like Jello or something, but it's amazing for blending up and using in different applications. Anyway, I keep this on hand all the time. I'm going to be using the entire packet of this, blending it with some plant milk, unsweetened, and a fair bit of nutritional yeast, a little bitty bit of this Marmite, which if you've never been to the United Kingdom, it's everywhere. People eat it all the time, like on toast. It's very, very salty yeast extract. It's really got a concentrated, rich flavor, and that gives it a little cheesy tang. The nutritional yeast is cheesy. And I'm gonna add a little bit of garlic powder. Cooking onions, so I'm not gonna add any like dried onion or anything. And I'm gonna add a pinch of achiote molido, actually to the saute of vegetables, which I've decided to do with a little bit of oil so I could add this to the oil and let it bloom out a little bit before I add the wet mix. I'm not going to put it in just straight with the wet mix. I think that'll just give it an extra edge. Now this is kind of to make it a little more yellow. Achiote is the same as annatto, which is what they use to make margarine yellow, but it does have its own flavor, but it also is like a Mexican flavor. So I don't want to put turmeric in my Mexican food because I know people think it doesn't taste like much, but I really taste turmeric and it tastes like Indian food to me. So not what I'm cooking here today. I'm not the world's best opener of silken tofu containers. I'm going to go ahead and pour out a little bit of liquid that's in here. Pour this in. And squeeze it in there. Go ahead and put this nutritional yeast. And do like a good amount of nutritional yeast. Like that. That's probably, I don't know, I'm thinking a 1/4 cup or something. I want it to be pretty cheesy. And I'll just do a little, you know, here, that's good. Do about 1/8 of it, I don't know, 1/4 teaspoon of this Marmite. You see what it's like? It's like total goo. I know it looks like caramel, but don't think that. Don't put it on your ice cream. You'll be terribly upset. So now we have the achiote. I'm just gonna eyeball this. I'm just gonna put like, oh, I did the wrong thing, you guys. What did I say I was gonna do? Wait and fry it. Well, maybe now I'll dry fry the vegetables. Anyhow, or maybe I'll just add a little to the pan. I didn't put very much. And shake up my soy milk. Probably about a half a cup of soy milk goes in. You really want it to blend well. The liquid is gonna evaporate off. So it's not an exact science, but you want it to be able to blend well. I'm using my magic stick blender. If you don't have one of these, you do it in a blender, you do it in a NutriBullet. But this was like a cheap one. This is maybe $40 for this thing with a lot of attachments. Just go get one. I'm gonna add more plant milk. I want you to see the consistency we reach. Probably like that, another quarter cup. Heckin' darn, everyone. What did I forget? Kala namak, which is black salt, Indian black salt. It is pink, but they call it black salt. I don't know why. And it makes things taste like eggs. If you have seen my egg salad, mock egg salad video, you'll know that. So we're just gonna put a pinch in here, probably about 1/8 of a teaspoon. It already has saltiness in it, and this stuff is pretty potent, so it's gonna do the trick. So we have now flavors that are cheesy and flavors that are eggy. And traditional migas actually doesn't have cheese, but a lot of the time it might be served with some cheese on top of it or something. And it's just tasty. So that's what we're doing. Okay, now we will cook the food. While my skillets are heating, I'm just going to show you, this is half of the chunk of tofu. It's quite a lot of food. It's been draining in a little sieve in the sink, and you just break it up like this. You can do that right over the skillet when you're ready to add it. I'm going to do it ahead so I can just dump it in when I want it. And just wanted to show you kind of what it looks like. In we go with our onions. I'm doing quite a lot of onions, and let's see, looking at how much tofu I have. You want it to be pretty heavy. I think I'll leave it at that for the moment. Put in all the peppers and chilies. You can see here I have some cilantro. I'm going to chop that up, use it for garnish. And I do want to tell you all a really cool thing about tofu scrambles is, unlike eggs, you don't really have, they'll keep. You don't have to eat them fresh. You make a huge batch of tofu scramble and heat some up, or even eat it cold. Might sound gross to you if you are unfamiliar with this, but it's good. It's perfectly good. So I have basically a dry pan here for this because I'm going to add a little oil with the achiote in a minute, but on my cast iron skillets, they're always like wiped out with oil anyway. I mean, they're pretty dry, but they have some oil in them. That's how you store them and keep them kind of from rusting and stuff. So the skillet's been heating for a minute. It's nice and hot. We'll throw in the tomatoes pretty much along with this so that they don't cook too much. Then we'll add the tofu blend. This is going to have my canned black beans heating, and this skillet over here, if we can see it, yep, is going to have the breakfast sausage in it. I'm going to give that a little spray with some vegetable oil, pan spray. Just like spray the sides of the sausage. It just cooks more nicely that way. You don't have to use any fat at all to cook that stuff, but it does cook a lot more nicely on the outside with a little bit of it. If you were going to use it in a recipe where you were like going to break it up and put it in like sausage gravy, which would be a great idea, I would suggest just cooking it dry in crumbles and then put it in your gravy, because as with these tortillas, the fat cooking of that element is not going to affect the flavor of the final dish at all. Alright, so I've just added a small amount of vegetable oil and achiote, just till it was a little fragrant. You can see it made the onions colorful. I don't go for caramelization with this. I've already maybe cooked them a tiny bit more than I would like to, because it's really common in Mexican restaurants that the onion and peppers are like almost barely cooked. And the tomatoes, they're not like really sauteed off at the beginning the same way you get with a lot of preparations. Now I'm just letting the crumbled plain tofu heat through. I am going to dump in the tomatoes. I'm going to scoop them out of their juice. They've been sitting here. There's still going to be some juice, but see how much juice came out just cutting them up and leaving them in a bowl. There we go. So just heat those through a little, let that liquid cook off slightly. This is a very vegetable heavy one, but with the addition of this, it's going to suddenly become really egg-like. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in. Get it all out. I'm sure I just got some on my sweater because I'm clumsy. There it is, every last bit pretty much. You start stirring this through. It's all custardy now. It's going to dry out some and get a little smaller because that plant milk is going to cook out. You could use whatever plant milk you like. I use soy milk. I think something with a blander flavor is probably best. You could probably use water if you wanted to, but I think probably having that little bit of protein and starch in that liquid is most likely useful. Now that I have this going, now I'm going to add my chips. So those are going to go in. It's the same as with eggs. If you put in the chips really early, they will like turn into cornmeal. So, or back into mozzarella. They'll, cook out and they'll get too wet. And with eggs, which usually will cook a little faster, you still can run into that problem. I've got to get my sausage going. So this little back burner. I'll show you. This stuff is real sticky, the Gimme Lean breakfast sausage when you cut it, but it's good and it's worth it. And once these are done, I'll be able to just turn them off. And I'll tell you what, we made extra last time and I probably reheated them in that little skillet. They were so good. They get kind of crusty in a nice sort of cheesy way. Crank the heat up a little on this. There's so much of it. You see how it's coming together. It's less custardy than it was a minute ago, but you want it to stay custardy, more like actual scrambled eggs would. And it is. It's going to be quite good. It's not going to be crumbly tofu scramble like you're maybe used to getting. And you could cook this more or less. Obviously, tofu is already a cooked product. If you wanted it really soft, you could stop here or earlier, but you can make it drier. We are still rolling, and I just want to show you this sausage. I'm going to go ahead and get it in the skillet in the back. Burns it pretty quick, so I like as much surface area to be browned as possible. So what I like to do is press these down while they're still not cooked all the way. See how sticky they are? It's because they're made with starchiness, not fattiness. Although it's not to say that meat sausage isn't sticky sometimes, so I just try to press them down, and then what I do is I try to flip them over quickly on the second side and press that down so that it also, while it's still raw, gets a flatter surface area. Also, I am going to add a little more oil to these. They will just cook more nicely. There we go. Now let's see how these are doing. You see I just left them alone for a minute. Maybe even that I should add these tortilla chips later. I don't know, but it's still going to be delicious. Yeah, this is plenty done for me. They smell amazing. They smell like tortillas, which is what they should smell like. And a little bit cheesy. I'm sure I'm not doing them right by really good Mexican restaurant standards, but I used to always make migas at home my way, and now I've figured out how to make that vegan. So you can see there's an absolute ton of food here, and we will eat it twice between the two of us. So that's good home economics. These are getting warm, and we'll just serve it with a little bit of black beans. This is the whole can, but I'm actually gonna add a little salt because there are no salt added. I would rather have that. Add a little bit of my own. There we go, and turn them back over on that side. So yeah, my husband and I did not eat very much today, so it's going to be a little bit of an intermittent fasting kind of day in a way. So we had very small breakfasts, and then he worked in the yard all day, and I worked in real estate all morning, and I was like, I am going to make this video, and I want to eat this for lunch. So it's going to be like 2 o'clock when we eat, but that's okay. Just show you the final plate. I'm going to put cilantro on the top and serve mine with some avocado. My husband doesn't like it. Probably a little hot sauce on the top. It is time for lunch, and I am so excited. So you can see I went ahead and just put all the cilantro on all the food right away. I got myself what looked like a healthy serving of it, but now I'm thinking I may have still more. You could always have this with a tortilla. Like, again, look for one that doesn't have a lot of added oil. Most of them have some, but you can get some good options there. Get an authentic flour tortilla and roll that up, and it's brilliant. Here's my sausages, here's my beans, and I've got 1/4 of an avocado. I do have some sauces to serve with this crazy Trader Joe's Green Dragon hot sauce, which is more like Mexican type of tomatillo hot sauce than we thought it was going to be. And then this random salsa picante I got at, I think, Latinos Unidos, and this tapatio. So we have a little selection of hot sauces for our food, and bon appetit. We are down to the taste. As I said last time, my husband and we made this last week, and he just said that it tastes more like migas than the last one, and that cooking it a little drier was better too. So yeah, that's delicious. I know what these taste like. I know what the beans taste like, but a little bite of everything together is good. All right, I hope everybody enjoyed this. I hope you go try it. You make half this recipe, use how much vegetables you like. And again, like, share, subscribe, comment below, and click the notification bell to get updates when I'm finally making my videos again. Thanks for watching.
I saw my dad